Live streamed.
Stream live on YouTube.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
just
apparently
wanna
they
test,
didn't even tell
test
me.
it. We just want to test it, see how it goes.
Well, we are the world's largest Web 3.0 classroom, right? With like 15 million viewers or something. So I expect the money just to start falling.
On YouTube. Going, this is incorrect information on this channel.
Yeah, I think it's just a test out there on YouTube. I hope we go viral, and then I can afford to get some new razor blades or something. So a shame.
They're expensive, aren't they?
Yeah, tell you what. When I was living in Russia, if you wanted a Gillette razor blade, you had to go and ask permission from the security guards because they were behind the glass. The incredible whiskey that costs about $300 a bottle here in Australia, that wasn't behind the glass. You could stick that on your shirt and walk out of the store. But if you wanted the Gillette razor blades, you had to go and ask permission. And then they'd sort of look at you and like, is he really able to afford these Gillette razor blades?
Don't you just get creative there and do it like Aussie style? You swipe the bottle of vodka or bourbon or whatever under your arm, then you just go home and smash the bottle, and then you use that to like shave with, like
Yeah,
Crocodile Dundee, except with glass.
Yeah, I mean that's where the world's coming to right now, especially over there. It's a bit sad. There used to be a situation where people would drive like a large truck. They would drive it into Germany and they would buy all the Western products, and then they would literally just drive it back through Ukraine, back into Russia, and then go down into Crimea and sell everything at like 20 times the price. And, you know, it was good business for those guys in those trucks until one day those guys in the trucks didn't come back, and people are like, what happened to them? Like, and they're just a smoldering wreck on the side of the road. So that whole business, that the black market's kind of dried up. Seriously, it's a bit sad. Welcome to all of our live stream viewers. I'm assuming there's thousands already, mate. So I'm just thought it'd be polite to say hello to the thousands of viewers.
Unfortunately, there's nobody except
me. What? Jesus. Right. Well, so it's a shame. They're going to miss out on all the fantastic things.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, actually, to be honest, there's an absolute boatload of orange coins this week. So there is movement. The altcoin season has actually begun, especially if you're a 4-hour trader. My God, there's about 60 coins that are going nuts right now. I don't know why. I don't think Bitcoin seems terribly, terribly weak. But we have discussed this idea that maybe the institutions are moving back into the markets and realizing that some of these coins in the top 200 are actually undervalued. So maybe that's why some people are buying in, because they expect Bitcoin to go up in the future. There'll be a lot of maybes if this is a live stream. It's like, maybe this happens, maybe that's, I don't want to commit to anything right now. Not with millions of people watching. Yeah.
I was looking, it did look a little bit more positive. Everything's just come down, dumped me out of all my things, and then go, nah, now we're going to go up. I'm like, oh.
Well, one thing that we're going to commit to going forward is kind of that idea of that green coin list that I introduced for exactly 1 week, which was just an utter failure. And the idea is that I've realized now that to manually assess the market the proper way takes like several hours. So I'm going to have to do that. And then I'll try and isolate the very best trades and put those on the green list. And they're the ones where the methodology is just set up for near guaranteed results, especially with regards to the risk versus reward ratio. If I was like more talented, which I'm not, I'd probably do it live on camera. Maybe I'll get into the habit of doing that. Every time we isolate a perfect trade, we stick it on a green list. We'll see how we go today. Remind me, or somebody take notes or something, because surely that's the only thing missing from us all making millions of dollars.
You can't give that away, Jonathan. You've got to get people to pay for that. Otherwise, you
we can't give that in live.
This is a disaster, isn't it? But what about the ad revenue, man? Can't we sell like hoodies and stuff and like make, get shit coins forever on our hoodies and make like $30 every time someone buys it? I could sell my beanie. This is just a disaster, isn't it?
You're going to have to get engraved like BCE on the front of it or something,
Yeah, We may as well start, mate, and just
Yeah, let's start. I think. All right, welcome everybody. This is the 92nd masterclass, and this is going live as well. Just this is a test for us to see how it goes, but it has a huge lag between Facebook and Zoom, which is live. So anyway, we're gonna look at the purple list, the coins that are doing well at the moment, and also the green list and the red list and the orange list as well. So over to you, Jonathan. So
thanks, mate. Welcome everybody to Blockchain Education Beginners Webinar Masterclass / live streaming experiment number 92/1. This is the 92nd webinar, of which we've done hundreds of webinars. And if you're watching the replay on YouTube, you're about to get the best technical analysis out there for free. Let's get into it and look at Bitcoin. So we've been tracking Bitcoin over the last 6 months. You'll see our proprietary indicators, which we call the D30 right here. And this was obviously the perfect entry. Since then, we've had an interesting channel run. As you can see, we're moving in and out of a channel, which is defined by the ATR envelope. And what we're seeing here is a movement, which is basically predictable. And the predictable nature of this movement, if I can find my arrow, which seems to have disappeared. Oh, wow, this is a great start. Where did my arrow go? Does anybody see my arrow? This is a fantastic start. Look, my arrow's disappeared. Let me just refresh. Has anybody else's TradingView arrow disappeared? Just wondering. Because I want my arrow back so I can kind of point. Whoa, things are nice and slow now. Yep. TradingViews. No. Anybody else got an arrow issue? Like a lack of arrows in the line box? Anybody? Robert, Cedar?
Arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's some of the stuff.
My arrow's gone. So how am I supposed to point to things? I'm going to have to do it the old school way,
No,
kids.
the top one, Jonathan. Go to that crosshair thing up the top above the trend like that.
Oh, they've moved it. Oh, well, that's interesting.
I just discovered that.
Wow. All right. So, okay, now I go arrow. So I still can't draw an arrow though. Look, no, that's not going to work either. So we're off to a great start. I do want to get my arrow. So bear with me, everybody. Yeah, it's definitely not here. The arrow is on my favorites list.
Oh, no, it's yeah, you got it. That's the one.
No, it's not. I can't draw an arrow. So I'm clicking it and it's not doing anything. Can anybody else draw an arrow? Like I've got one down here.
Arrow marker. There is a marker down. Not there. On the main one, come down.
Yeah.
That painting. Go to the paint. No. Left. On your left.
Yeah, I am on the left.
No. Left side. I see you found it.
Is this then? Is that then you arrow? No, I don't want that. I want a bloody thin arrow.
No. That's no. If you go down, not that one.
So they've moved it.
Yeah. If
Which
you
one
go
is it?
down, yeah, that next one.
That's a geometric shape.
Yeah, that's the one. You see?
So it's not there either.
It's
as
there.
you can see.
Yeah,
No,
you
it's
can see
not.
the arrow now. You can see the second one.
Highlighter.
No, the second one is the.
Second on go back to the pointer list, the one below.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah. No.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Right. So they've. All right. So everybody, just so you're watching, they've moved arrows over here. So I can tell you.
Down.
No, it's all right. I've got to sort it out now. Let me just remind everybody, we're professionals at this. Thanks to the 50,000 people watching on YouTube. Just trust me. I've done 297 live webinars, and today they decided to move the arrow, and TradingView didn't tell me. So that's just an issue. I just want you to know. It's all part of the free training. That's going to haunt me all day. I'm going to be clicking my arrow, and it's going to be in the wrong location. Anyway, suffice to say, let's go back to the charts. Bitcoin's been doing lovely. Look at it. It's just making these lovely higher lows on an intermediate middle pattern. Is moving down from the top of this. This is all predictable, to be honest. Why is it moving down from this? It's moving from the top of the ATR envelope. Let's see if they've put this in. Oh, good. They haven't moved that. That's lovely. So top of the ATR envelope is obviously where you want to be thinking about selling your asset. And as you can see, we've had a pretty standard movement to the bottom of this inside track. This is probably the most important line on the chart, this blue line here. Let's zoom in and have a look at the last 4 hours. The last 2 days and the 4-hour candles. And you can see that we have this rapid acceleration of, oh my God, look, I'm going to have to get used to this. We see this rapid acceleration across the 314 flat and then down into that 314. So this obviously is a place where we're going to be seeing some sort of support level. Just as a side note, if we come over here and have a look at Bitcoin treasuries, there seems to be an awful lot of activity. Apparently, we're getting activity for Grayscale and also Core Scientific and MicroStrategy. So I think that we're starting to see an accumulation, the continued accumulation of Bitcoin across these 3 different groups. So that doesn't surprise me when you have a look at the Bitcoin chart. If you have a look at it on the weekly chart, this is actually really where the information makes a lot more sense. You can see that we've come down into the 200-week moving average. Oh, there we go again. Try again. Moved down into the 200-weekly average, rejected it, found it, broken it, rejected it, found support, and we sit here again. This is definitely looking like a setup for a continued higher low. So that is what I'm looking at on the weekly chart. And what we can see here, oh, there we go. Let's try it again. Let's get my trend line. Let's go. What we can see here is obviously an important breakout level that we're waiting to test on a weekly candle. So what I'm hoping for over the next couple of days is perhaps a movement like that, maybe down into the high 28,000s, which will basically freak everybody out and everybody will go short. And then, as we know, it's likely that the price will actually jack up in its general direction. And I've been aiming for 37,000 for about 4 months now. You can see why I would probably imagine that, because I could see something like this happening, which is a cyclic part of our methodology. And it's happened so many times in the last 20 years / 5 years that that's probably on the cards. So that's the case for Bitcoin right now. As you can see, on a 50-50 sort of basis, there's really no real way to know which way we're going. My gut instinct says we're going up that way, but we could quite easily go down that way. And essentially, right now, institutionally speaking, with the 200 moving week average in play, it's really a 50-50 as to which way we go. Probably the most important part of this longer term chart is the fact that we are consistently making higher lows. So you can see that we had a higher low here and we had a higher low here, and there's a nice sort of separation. We've seemed to have had a higher low here. What we're kind of hoping for this week or next week is another higher low. And what's probably missing is the higher high. So what we want to do is we want to get a movement up into this general direction. And of course, that's going to make things so much easier for us to understand. We're going to say, oh, that's a predictable, lovely little channel. And we may end up going up here to 37,000, which is kind of what I'm predicting. So I still feel quite bullish going forward with Bitcoin. But having said that, we may be seeing some weakening the squeeze momentum on the weekly chart. So we could most certainly start to fall away here. I don't necessarily think that's a big issue because at Blockchain Education, we don't really care that much about Bitcoin. There's other coins out there doing much better. Like, for example, this week we're using the purple list. Let's have a look at Ant. And as you can see, Ant on a weekly basis is just doing lovely things. Let's go back and look at it on a daily, and we can see it's probably even more attractive. Let's go like that. And you can see that over the last maybe 2.5 months, let's go and get a date range, unless have they moved it? Yes, they have. They moved the date range. Okay, where's that moved to? Is it in this one now? Is it the measurement tool? No. Anybody see the date range for me? So it's not here. It's not here. It's not here.
It's in the bottom of
They've moved it.
It's in the fourth one.
Yeah, they moved it to projection. All right, that's annoying. Thanks. I'm going to punch someone at TradingView soon. Anyway, so back to Arrow here. So as you can see, lovely series of higher lows. Obviously, buying the 200 moving average is basically money. It's just money. And we were kind of hoping that we would get a movement back into the 200 moving average sometime back here, the end of July. Coming into kind of the 12th of July, but we never got that pink Barbie, which is a shame. We just jacked up straight to the top, and we continue to make higher lows. If you're wondering what a higher low looks like, that's a higher low, and that one, 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 and that one. And what we're probably missing out, obviously, on this chart is a higher high. So once again, let's see if I can do it. Yep, cool. Once again, we get the cyclic pattern, which probably is going to go in that general direction. That's why Ant's been on the list and doing extremely well. They've moved the percentage as well. Right. Let's go looking for the percentage tool, everyone. Forecast, here we go. They moved that as well. Right, percentage-wise, and up 74% in the last 124 days versus Bitcoin. And as we know, Bitcoin since the start of the year is up about 100% itself. So that's a huge win for Ant. I just clear it all out, double click here. And what we're noticing over the last couple of days since the, let's go here, since the Wednesday webinar is over the last couple of days, we've had a couple of dark red candles here, suggesting that we are now in a bullish squeeze because we've got the bullish lines here. And I have a feeling that we're going to make a run at a new high. What does that look like? Let's try and get my horizontal ray. Boom. That's what it looks like. I think over the next couple of days, over the weekend, we're going to get a run up into that area, if not to the top of the ATR envelope up here around about 16,500. You know, to me, that would just be pretty much par for the course. If you have a look, there's nothing outrageously complicated about that sort of move. Obviously, as we've pointed out many, many times before, if you find yourself at the top of the ATR envelope, you want to definitely be thinking about selling. There was a couple of magnificent opportunities to sell, and I think there's one coming up. And obviously, Pink Barbie is a perfect place to buy. And one of those only coins that continues to make higher lows and higher highs versus Bitcoin. Trust me, there's only about 5 of them. Let's have a look at ING, INJ even. INJ, perfect setup. We know all about that. If you're a paying customer and you're not just a live streamer, then we'll tell you all about that one day. But suffice to say, it was a perfect setup. And what we're starting to see now is a little bit of weakening. A little bit of weakening on the upside momentum, a little bit of weakening on the upside trend strength, ADX, bit of a lack of volume. Not a concern, really, as far as I'm concerned. The reason why is the pattern hasn't broken. And if you're thinking, you know, what does it even mean by that pattern hasn't broken? I'll let you know if I manage to find the highlighter tool again, because I thought it was, there it is, the highlighter tool. Higher low, higher low, higher low, equal higher low, higher low, higher low. Ooh, is that another higher low? It's starting to look that way. So if I show you this, zoom in, what we're seeing now is yesterday, actually a couple of days ago, doji, bearish doji, bearish doji. Now it looks like we're going to close higher. This is indicative of what you would imagine is a higher low, of which we have had, as I said, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about eight higher lows. What's also exciting about this is the potential that we make a higher high on INJ, and the higher high would be up here around about that level. But since we know all about psychological levels, I'm imagining that the market won't be able to resist putting its greedy little mitts on 4,000 Satoshis, meaning that we could run up in that general direction. And if you're wondering how that looks in the grand scheme of things, it's going to look like this. Woo! So yeah, I can see us just jacking up in the same sort of manner that we did here. I can see us doing that once again, up to about 4,000 Satoshis. As I mentioned, it's rare to find an asset that continues to improve versus Bitcoin, up another 250% in 187 days, of which there are literally a handful of coins on the planet doing anything like this. We are going to test this area. If I clean it all out, we're going to test an area through here that's going to be sort of a resistance zone. We've seen resistance lots of times back in April, and then coming into the end of April, and then once again we see it into the early part of June, and then the early and the late part of June, and you know we're still seeing higher lows. We may be in the process of forming an ascending triangle here. Ultimately, we're getting very close to potentially breaking out. So I don't know, something like this, horizontal across the top, rising lows. I'd say maybe another week and a half, and we may see INJ just below to the upside, like I suggested, up to about 4,000. It wouldn't surprise me considering it's already done nearly 300% in a few months, in about 3 or 4 months. So INJ looks pretty good. Obviously, methodology a little bit conflicted. We've seen this before, though, to be honest. Oh, God, there we go. Let's get that right. We've seen that happen before. A couple of times we've had the downside. And if you look at the downside, it doesn't seem all that convincing, to be honest. Like even when it goes down, the price really doesn't change all that much. So through this area, we had downside momentum, but we didn't get much of a price change. Through this area, we had downside momentum. We didn't get that much of a price change. Like that's a pretty narrow one. So if we get it a third time, I can imagine us just simply sitting in here. And then what we're imagining is that we get a swing up. And that has happened several times before as well. I'll just kind of remind you what a usual swing up entails. It's quite a large move on the ADX. So we had a couple of little ones, but I can imagine us having another large move. If you're confused about any of the methodology that we use to isolate these entries, you should become a member. Maker, MKR, basically did exactly what we expected. So we're getting a lovely little move through this area here. Let me do my trend line. Broke through this area, also the 314. And as you can see, we are getting a higher low was established on the 200, breaks to the upside. Good place to sell yesterday, perhaps. I would imagine that we're going to start losing a little bit of momentum, and you can see a little bit of momentum falling away on the ADX trend strength, but I still think this has got plenty of opportunity to go higher. What I am concerned about is previous resistance areas. So let's go and isolate those and turn that off and minimize that and look at the previous resistance areas. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, obviously these areas. That's where essentially we got to before the market rejected it. That's where we got to last time. So as you can see, we're in sort of trouble land right now. We're right in a previous resistance area. That was a resistance area that ultimately the market rejected, and we find ourselves here. So obviously in the past, we were recommending that you take profits at this level, and that would have worked out pretty well. What we're assuming is there's a potential if we were to close higher over the next couple of days in the weekend, if we get a candle that looks like that, and let's say another candle that looks like this, if we get a close above this resistance level, somewhere above 4,400, that I think there's a little bit of a possibility to run all the way to 5,000, which is up here. So that's a confusing sort of area. Like people would probably ask, well, why do you think we would go somewhere into that 5,000 zone? Simply because I think the market has an appetite for that type of thing. So I could just see us, I mean, that to me would just seem like a fairly natural channel. If you have a look here, this would be the channel. Yeah, just have that sort of move like that. It just seems like a fairly natural channel to me. So we may find that we get a little bit of red. These might end up being red candles and we might end up going down, or we may just simply find that midpoint of the channel, that midpoint there, and just run to the upside. But ultimately, I think Maker can run to 5,000 from here. It doesn't seem to be slowing down all that much, although it may entail a move like that. So we might get a move like that. I like the fact that we're still getting sporadic buying volume over the last couple of weeks, even though there was a natural volume push here, but we are still getting regular volume pushes. Maker, excellent. Tomo. So I mentioned this would be a potential upside victory for us because of the Fibonacci areas. Obviously, once again, have that perfect entry down here. Let's see if I can, they've moved the vertical lines as well. Okay, fine. Okay, put that over there. Yeah, so obviously perfect entry here, runs up. I think that was the 360%. That's a great Fibonacci area. Let's have a look. Fibonacci this, and boom. I think that's about, yeah, that's about my Fibonacci level. Actually, you know what? Let's just double check that. That's the Fibonacci level I was looking for. 618 retracement here. And now a series of higher lows and higher highs. Now sitting at the 382. What does the 382 mean? It means from the entry location where we stop making lower lows to the basically the high, the close of the high. They're my two Fibonacci anchor points. If it's fallen 61.618, that means it's fallen 61% of that gain. So this gain, which was from our entry to basically the top candle, it has now fallen 61.8% down into the Fibonacci zone, which is usually an excellent place to buy. And as you can see, we've now moved and transitioned across this Fibonacci area, found a staging area, rejected it, found the staging, got to the next level. So either we run up in this general direction, which is a distinct possibility, or we come back down into this general area and find the Fibonacci area once again. What I imagine is going to happen is that since we're coming out of the middle of the ATR envelope, we'll probably just get a channel that looks like this. So the downside opportunity is probably fairly strong, probably stronger than the upside opportunity. And if we are going to get the upside opportunity, it's probably going to be a bit slower because there's an imminent resistance area coming up, some sort of move like that. Let me grab that. So to me, this is a bit of a 50-50, to be honest. Now, having said that, it was 100% calculated by us or forecast by us that this would be the bounce. It's the 618 and it's up 50% in the last 3 weeks. So I wouldn't put anything past Tomo. And what we may find in the grander scheme is when I go and have a look at this on a weekly chart, we might decide that this recent, I'll just clean it up, this recent rejection of the ATR envelope is not such a bad thing at all. That's obviously way too high. That's come back 618. And if you look at what's happened over the last 4 weeks, keep in mind this is a weekly chart. That's 1 whole week. That's 2 whole weeks. That's 3 whole weeks. That's 4 whole weeks. We've got a pink Barbie. So on a weekly chart, there is imminent upside potential for this. We could just scream to the top up here. And if I show you this chart, you'll realize that the weekly candle pink Barbies, they have never occurred other than the last couple of months. So obviously there was a situation with this particular asset, Tomo, where we had a resistance level, which basically broke a series of lower lows. Then we have our lower highs coming through here. Then we just break out, test the key level, and now we're all set to continue going up. So between Ant, INJ, Maker, and Tomo, I think we've got some interesting opportunities on the weekly chart, on the daily chart. You can also trade these on the 4-hour chart. So if you're trading something like Ant on the 4-hour chart, it makes even more sense because you get even more sort of clarity on where you need to be buying. Obviously, buying pink Barbie classes just makes the most sense. What that means is that you want to be buying down here, pink Barbies, pink Barbies, pink Barbies, a whole cluster here with an imminent upside to come. So far as that's concerned, that's 4 coins. Let's go 4 coins out of 397 Binance and KuCoin versus Bitcoin. Look at that for writing. See, I could get myself a new font. So Binance and KuCoin, 397 assets traded versus Bitcoin. 4 of them are on the list. And I got to say, those 4 have been absolutely crushing it over the last couple of months. Let's zoom out a little bit and have a look at the orange list. The orange list has absolutely exploded this week. Orange list meaning we're isolating assets which are potentially just going to absolutely go nuts or have recently gone absolutely nuts. Speaking of recently going absolutely nuts, here's AGLD. As you can see, 78.6% Fibonacci retrace, completely predictable. And that's what we've been talking about. So if you are buying down in this zone here, you're doing exceptionally well so far. Percentage-wise off that 200, we're now up 24% in 4 days. Not exactly the most surprising thing in the world to me. Makes even more sense when you look at it on the 4-hour basis. And you can see here the magical W formation off the 314. W for winners. Look at that lovely little W. Now we've got a pink Barbie and a Blitz coming out of the middle of the ATR envelope. And over the last 12 hours, we've been closing above the 200 moving average. So I can only imagine that we're going to sort of stomp our way up in this general direction. Now, having said that, there are some conflicts with the rest of the methodology. If you're wondering what I'm talking about there, this is not exactly positive. That's kind of not exactly positive. The ADX trend strength falling away, not exactly positive. The volume, on the other hand, absolutely buying volume the last 3 or 4 days. The 200 moving average, absolutely a positive place to be. Middle of the ATR envelope, absolutely positive upside potential. And then on top of that, you've got daily green average bands and a higher high engulfing candle. So 75 to 80% of the methodology is on our side for this. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some proximity movement up in this general direction. So when I say proximity, what I mean is recently, in close proximity, people have made a staggering amount of money. In fact, if you're wondering what sort of money they made, that was basically 200% in 3 weeks. So those people are likely, when I say people, I mean those traders, those day traders are probably ready to have a crack at this type of action because, you know, potentially they made a stack here and they can see us having a chance of that. The chances of us falling down in this general direction are probably over now, simply because we have had 3 or 4 days of fairly solid growth. Yesterday, eclipsing a higher high here, and today opening lower than where it is now and continuing higher. So AGLD, once this swings up into fluoro green, I'd say this would be on the purple list. So very close, not bad. Bitcoin Cash on the orange list because look at that. It's just kind of doing what I expected. We haven't come anywhere near the stop loss. Stop loss was kind of in here. So I'll just remove that. You can see the trade setup that I had. We haven't come close. In fact, we're kind of drifting higher now. Not the greatest trade in the world, but we kind of said that it was a bit of a warning. But you could be up 4% in the last week, trading BCH. Bitcoin Cash had an opportunity to basically pummel its way down here. But over the last week and a half, it's found an area of dynamic support around about the 850, 825, 850 mark. I don't know if I'm completely sold on this, although I got to say yesterday's candle was actually pretty good. It was a higher high for the last 10 days. There is it kind of feels like there's a bit of a 50-50 on offer. So that's obviously an important area. And that's obviously an important area, 314. So to me, you know, that's basically a 50-50 on the cards. Maybe not quite a 50-50. So if you're thinking about entering this now, you have to be really, really careful, because ultimately your stop loss is 30% one way. Your take profit's probably going to be about 20%. So you're not even getting 1-to-1 on your risk versus reward ratio. I also think if you go with geometric shapes, which a lot of people are excited about, this may have played out poorly. So that might be the shape. It's actually really hard to kind of look into this. Possibly there was an inner shape here as well. So I don't know if that's essentially some sort of geometrical shape that we can rely on. Doesn't really look like it to me. It would be lovely if it was a little bit more like this and it broke out at the 3/4 mark, but I don't believe it has. It's a little bit less aggressive. And that's probably because we're starting to see giant lack of momentum, giant lack of trend strength to the upside. And probably the most important thing is a staggering lack of volume. So Bitcoin Cash was exciting for about 2 weeks, and then the whole world was like, boring, we're out of here. That's why it's on the orange list. Comp, something similar happened at Comp. So very exciting entry there. Double pink Barbie into a blitz. Good entry, top of the ATR envelope. Wait for the clear out. If you're wondering what a clear out looks like, it looks like this. Clears out, takes a higher high, and then pushes off that area. Where did I measurement? Oh man, this is so frustrating. Where's it gone? Percentage? No. Okay, fine. Anybody? There it is. Right, movement here from the bottom here to the top here, 28% in 4 days. Come back and tested the 314 recently here, as you can see, and now pushing higher for the last 3 or 4 days. The question is, does it have the momentum? I don't think so. As you can see, going down. As you can see, going down. As you can see, the buyers just left the market. They're off over buying Ant instead. So I don't believe this is going to continue to go much higher. I would have taken my profits probably by now. I'm going to keep it on the orange list because you never know. This might be a higher low. This would surprise me, but that could be on the cards. You never know. We might get a movement like that through the weekend. I doubt it, because of the fact that the methodology is going in the opposite direction, which is why it's on the orange list. Speaking of the orange list, here's Dogecoin, a perennial favorite. What a piece of crap coin this is. Let's go in on a 4-hour and show you where you should have sold. As often is the case, selling at the top of the ATR envelope is a magnificent place to sell. 1 time, 2 time, 3 time. So get it while you can. I don't believe this can hold on. I think it might have made a new lower low. Let's go and find out. Looks through there. Whoop. Uh-oh. That looks like a bit of a lower low to me, which indicates that we're probably going to lose some momentum to the downside. Speaking of momentum, what does that look like? Well, I'm glad you asked, because we've got the most famous indicator of all time on our chart. It's called Lazy Bar Squeeze Momentum Indicator, and it seems to be going down. Yeah, look at it. It's on its way down. Wells Wilder's ADX indicator on the way down. Lack of relative volume. Oh, where's my little drawing tools gone? No, it's not happening. There we go. Lack of volume. That's also going down. Now, why is it on the orange list? Elon Musk. What do you think? No, seriously, it's on the orange list because technically speaking, I'm waiting for this candle to close. These are 4-hour candles, remember. So on a daily basis, I imagine what we'll actually get on a daily candle is we'll probably just get a red candle down in this general direction, and it'll settle on the moving 8-day average. Now, if you have a look at it on the moving 8-day average, you can see kind of what people have been struggling with. And I say struggling because this is a meme coin. People actually think this is going up. They're wrong. As you can see, it's a series of lower highs. And it's been like this for a long time. Now, obviously, there's a giant resistance level there. So you would expect to have sort of certain concerns getting up to the top of the ATR envelope and then having a rejection here. There is a very strong possibility that this happens. So if you're watching this webinar replay, all 30 million of you on YouTube, just take my advice and probably think about exiting your position, just like all the people who never watched our YouTube didn't exit there. That was probably horrible. Exactly the same setup. Big pump, finds it, dump. Big pump, finds it, dump. So just keep in mind that this chart, when we have a look at it on the weekly basis, becomes even more depressing. Why? Because this is probably the most painful thing in the world, the 200-week moving average. When you're above it, it becomes a support level. When you're below it, guess what? It's a resistance level. So we're probably going down like that, which would be horrific because that there represents a long period of time, a lovely long period of time where I would just love to find my date range. There it is, moved again. Let's go and find out how long this coin's been falling. 245 days in a row it's been falling, making lower lows and lower highs. So the question is, Jonathan, why is it on the orange list? Well, you never know. Maybe there is something to this, and we can't always ignore the fundamentals. Elon is in the news having bought X, or Twitter, and renaming it X. And to be honest, completely honest, there is a bit more room to the upside. So that is potentially on the cards. So if he announces something fantastic, then you never know. Let's move on to Link. Link, a perennial favorite. You can see my W formation, and we're wondering how that's working out. Obviously, we've done part of what I expected. Once again, lost my arrow. There we go. We've come from the top of the ATR envelope. We found support. I thought it would go a bit deeper, but we seem to, over the last 3 days, heading higher. So the real question is, can we get past what I would imagine is a pretty important resistance level, this area here? So it's really going to come down to whether or not we get a candle that looks like that over the next couple of days. I don't actually think that's going to happen. I was excited about it, but that kind of rapid movement, which represents just too much in my opinion, that kind of has a sort of a pumpy dumpy feeling. I thought it might have been institutional activity, but by the end of that day, I wasn't all that sure about it. And once again, I'm going fishing. Let's just use this one, price range. That'll be fine. Yeah, that was a 21% push in a single day. So even to me, that's probably not institutions doing that. That might just be a sort of a pump and dump group. Anyway, we'll keep our eye on Link, because once it makes that higher high, if it indeed does make that higher high through this area here, it's probably got the potential to run to the 314 and then continue higher. That's why it's on the orange list, because it hasn't got everything that we need to represent a good entry. Try us. Obviously, pink Barbie heaven. So you're buying it on the pink Barbie, you are getting paid. Getting paid. Guess what? We're about to get paid. So it's only a matter of time before we trigger a pink Barbie entry here. The entry long position is going to look something like this. Slight stop loss. At the very minimum, I'm imagining that this is a trade setup. We're waiting for a pink Barbie. Maybe Monday or Tuesday, get a candle like that, and then that becomes your take profit around about 6%. If you want, you could have a deeper 10%, but we're looking at about a 3-to-1, if you ask me. Selling up into that resistance area. Why is it resistance? Because, you know, plenty of times before we've had this environment where we found resistance top of the ATR, resistance across the top of the ATR, and in this case, we couldn't even break higher. But if you're wondering why I have such faith in this, it's probably because that, to me, looks like an attractive channel. And if you do get into this, you may get into this trade and get up here, but what if, kids, it just runs to a new higher high up here, and what starts off being 3-to-1 ends up at 6-to-1? Would that be absurd? Has that ever happened before? I'll show you. 2, well, half, minimum half, possibly another one. So series of possible higher highs in the making. It's not on the purple list because it hasn't made the pink Barbie yet, and the rest of the methodology is still a little scrambled. So we need to see this before we can get excited. Speaking of needing to see something, XLM has done some interesting moves of late, and I mentioned this idea that if we could break through this concept of a higher high, break through there, we might be in for some fireworks. And as you can see, yesterday, we basically closed at the top. And today we've opened and now we've moved right up here and fallen back here. But ultimately, this is a bullish candle so far today. I'm not really sure how you play this. It's a very interesting setup. If you have a look at it on the 4 hour, I think the market's a little bit overblown. And you're like, what do you mean overblown? Well, let me show you. Obviously, if we're up in the ATR envelope, that's very hot. That's very hot. Guess what? We're looking very hot up here. So it's kind of a hard one. My gut instincts, also known as my spider sensors for the 30 million people watching us on YouTube, is suggesting that we're setting up for an ascending triangle of all sorts of epic proportions. So that looks kind of attractive to me. Either we run and, you know, blow up here and run up that general direction up to about 750, or we just peter out and do a bit of this, and then we could probably just dive down in this general direction. I don't know. I don't think the methodology is quite there yet. My gut feeling says that we're too high on the ATR envelope. This just seems too high. This prior resistance area just seems too strong to me. And now, if I said we're moving into the area, do we have upside momentum? Well, we certainly have a good, strong uptrend. And it does look like we're about to pop. And there is buying volume. So the methodology kind of seems to be in line with what we're talking about. Now, let's go out and look at the 3-day. Now, let's go have a look at the weekly chart. So now you can start seeing why it's on the orange list. Because this area here on a weekly candle is going to be an absolute bulletproof vest. And then, of course, this is the 200-week institutional moving average, which is another bulletproof vest. So what are we talking about? You've got an upside potential here of a fairly slim amount. You know, maybe you get 15%, or maybe it just gets absolutely demolished and rejected and we go down in that general direction. I would probably be more bullish on this coin if we actually made that 15% and we came back next week and then I'm like, yeehaw, now we're going to get out our big arrow. Woohoo! See, maybe I do like this trading stuff. We can do those big blue arrows now. But we'll see what happens there. Let's go weekly, daily, back to XRP, Ripple. Great opportunity to short this at the top of the ATR envelope 2 times. It's like, boom, get out of there. And then, boom, get out of there. 2 great shorting opportunities. The first one, I'm going to use a big arrow here. Woo, look at that. That's a bit too big. Second one, boo. So, yeah, actually, I don't like those arrows. I take it back. I want my normal arrow back. Yeah, so obviously, massive drop here, massive drop here. Technically, higher low dojis for the last 3-4 days. What does it mean? Probably nothing. XRP is a piece of crap. Anybody who's sitting there saying it's going to go up to $3, you're deluded. You forgot all of these, which are called resistance areas, dynamic resistance. There's all sorts of horrible stuff ahead for Ripple. Every time we get up into the top of the ATR envelope, we just die. So guess what? We're up at the top of the ATR envelope. Guess what? We're probably going to die again. And we're just in a sideways moving zone as their court case resides in the system and they go through an appeal process. And obviously the SEC is probably going to win. They've already won 1 out of 3. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, you probably don't realize this, but there was basically 3 things leveled at them and they won 1 of them. And as a result, all the crypto guys said, yay, crypto this, crypto that, we're going up. No, that was probably the worst one to lose. They basically said that institutional investors did violate SEC security laws. And as you know, the old IVSECSL acronym is something that nobody on the planet knows about except us. And ultimately what that means is we're probably just going to go down like this. So stay away from XRP unless it does something spectacular, which is why it's on the orange list. Let's go with Aave or Aave. I don't know. Sure, we'll get hundreds of thousands of YouTube comments telling me how to pronounce this one. But what we may see is some upside movement. And I do like the look of this. Why do I like the look of this? Are you just playing games, Jonathan? No. I do like it when something which has consistent lower lows for a gazillion years stops doing that and starts making consistent higher lows. And what we're seeing here, if I stop jesting for a minute, is we're seeing higher lows. And what I imagine we're missing is a higher high, higher high, higher high. So that looks to me like a great opportunity to trade. Why is it a great opportunity to trade? Because your risk versus reward ratio is absolutely stacked in your favor. So you can come in here and put in a lovely little stop loss of about 6% and a take profit up here I'd say we could even go to 3,000, which wouldn't be a stretch of the imagination considering where the ATR envelope is. But that to me looks like a pretty consistently good looking trade. I imagine this is the channel, something like that. So what I happen to think is going to happen is get a movement up into this general area as opposed to a lower low, which might be down here at around about 8%. That's almost a 3-to-1. And don't forget, this particular asset, if I can find my, there it is. Yeah, this particular asset, since it stopped making lower lows, is actually up 35% in 36 days. So consistent higher lows and higher high on the cards. Obviously, if you do get into some action and you decide to take some profits, you want to be selling it up here. So they're basically up at the top of the ATR envelope, somewhere between the 200-314 sandwich. Do we have any evidence to suggest upside momentum? Not really. So don't get excited right now because the momentum is falling away, or rather the ADX is falling away and the momentum is falling away. These two indicators seems to have swapped position. Get up there. Thank you. Don't you dare. I've had enough of TradingView today. So with falling momentum and potentially a lack of volume across this area, that's enough to say, nah, you're not a purple coin, you're an orange coin, which is why Arpe is on the list. So let's move on to Crum. This is brand new. This is me just gambling here, kids. Just absolutely brand new coin on Bitcoin versus on Binance versus Bitcoin. And you've got to say, look, that doesn't look too bad. The last 3 days, 1, 2, 3 days, off she goes. Let's have a look at it on the 4-hour candles, suggesting that the days and days, and when I talk days and days, I'm talking 6 days, but the days and days of lower lows may be a thing of the past. See, that's about 6 days right there. But what we see here is about 3 or 4 days of upside potential. So obviously the pattern changed somewhere in the last 3 to 4 days, which is why I'm bringing it to you. And as you can see, we are in an environment where we may just close to a higher high today. Obviously, that's going to be a green candle. But that, to me, means that we're going to be on our way through this zone here. And if we should happen to get through that zone, it will probably transition from a orange coin to a purple coin. Because I imagine that after that, we'll get huge, big, fat movement. Look, no, I need the better arrow. Give me the big arrow movement up in that general direction. Brand new coin, no idea what it's doing, apart from the fact that it's no longer going down. So very useful if you're trading on the 4-hour. If you're trading on the 45-minute, it makes so much sense. Look at that. Somebody's having an ultra-rich pink bar party. Very exciting. Yeah, no longer going down. So lost quite a bit of value in this particular move, 19% in 3 days. But since then, now it's up a lovely 15% in 1 day. So obviously positive move to the upside. Not enough really to excite me on the daily candle because we don't have enough information. As you can see, we've only got about 3 days worth of data. So not exactly a purple coin, which is why it's on the orange list. Auction BTC did what we expected. Except anybody who was thinking about, going out on one of those Elon Musk space flights would have realized that this is out of space. So I would have taken my profits well before then. But anybody who's not taking their profits up here is just a lunatic. This was obviously some sort of crazy pump and dump maneuver. Pink Barbie gave it away. Hard to try and get yourself some low-cost coin when a Pink Barbie comes along and ruins your day. Obviously, this was some sort of pump and dump. Selling at the top is probably that makes sense. The question is, can it find resistance and support somewhere around the 200-314? Can we get a bit of this action over the next couple of days and then head higher? I don't know, but that's why it's on the orange list. So keep your eye on auction. For some reason, it just went up and did a big fat candle. Let's have a look at it on the weekly view, and you can see how unusual that was. Obviously, selling at the top of the weekly ATR, you would have got out at the perfect time, which is why our methodology is so useful. Let's move on to AVA, AVA. This is probably an early call. I admit it's an early call. I'll take my medicine. That does look like it's got potential upside to me. And I have a feeling that the ADX is going to continue to increase in strength. And I just need a bit of volume. give me a bit of volume, and then I'd be a bit more excited about this coin. It is on the orange list, mind you, and the idea is that there is a bit of room to the top of the ATR envelope. You may ask yourself, well, hey, where do you think you're going up here? Well, 200 coming through, freight train, good place to sell. Yeah, but you said room to this, and you said that sell at the top of the ATR envelope. Yeah, look. So the market is happy to visit the top of the ATR envelope, visiting it 3 times in the last month. So can we just go, pow? Well, of course we can. It's an orange coin, but I've got to say, if you're basically doing this, you're looking at trying to establish something more than a higher low. So obviously this is your resistance area. You want to have your stop loss here around about maybe 8, but your take profit's going to be up here about 17%. So you're basically getting 2 to 1 in an environment that looks fairly bullish to me. And that's the channel. And, you know, we'll see what happens here. Not really something that I would normally recommend because it is under the 200-day moving average. But, you know, let's have a look at the rest of the methodology. And like I said, we're just lacking a bit of volume. A bit of volume over here, that would be great. KNC, Kyber Network. I remember the good old days of promoting Kyber. If you were part of our community, you would have made millions of dollars. Actually, the lawyers wouldn't allow me to say that. But there were times in the past when Kyber was on our list. And this was one of those times, if I can even find my percentage thing that there we go. Look at that entry there. Oh, so lovely. 253%. Lovely. It's obviously been a long time coming. And when I say a long time, I mean, in terms of, you know, whatever, let me see if I can find it. Date range here. Wow, look at that. So in terms of the date range, a long time in the crypto world is basically 316 days. That's a painfully long time. We are approaching the 200-day moving average here. Haven't navigated it yet, but I've got to say it's starting to look nicely set up. A little bit more positivity. And I might imagine that we can push up in this general direction. And if that's the case, then we take out the big blue boy and up we go. So there's a chance we might do that. Pendle, pretty hard to kind of recommend this one now. Yeah, I'd probably take that one off the orange list. Probably give that a bit more time. RDNT, unlike most other coins which have been making consistent lower lows, this one, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low, ooh, no lower low, has been making higher lows. What does that look like? That basically means that we're moving up in this general direction, and we may move to the upside. So does the methodology support that idea? Well, as it happens, it kind of does. I imagine that we might get some sort of movement to the upside in this general direction. Maybe a bit of volume comes along and saves us, break through that area, break to the upside. There's potentially 30% to be had there. Not completely convinced, which is why it's on the orange list. We'll see. Solana versus Bitcoin. I've got to say, if you're buying pink Barbies, you're getting paid in this coin. We talked about it only a few weeks ago, and anybody who took the advice got absolutely paid, making 39% in a day. Guess what? We had another one a couple of days ago, now up 8% in 2 days. Is the methodology sort of conflicted? Somewhat. This is a concerning candle. And the fact that the ADX is starting to look like that, and the fact that the volume is dead flat, makes me wonder whether or not it's got the power to get through this hot zone. Why is it hot? I don't know. It just is all of a sudden. That hot zone looks like that and like that. And that's not something that I would normally trade. But should we get through that 314, I got to say, this is going to start looking more like a purple coin. So what we're hoping to see is a move like this and a move like this. And let's say by Monday, we get up here, perhaps up there. That's going to look like a lovely looking trading environment to get into a long position. And the idea is that it's done what it needs to do to break through that 314 for the first time in, I've got to say years. Like when was the last time? Let's go date range from here onwards. Yeah, that's not what I wanted. Let's try that again. I said date range. So when it went red, it's been 564 days in the making. That's a lot of pain for Solana owners. Bitcoin was a better investment for 564 days, but things are changing. Tribe, TRB, lovely little move here. Whoa, Yeah, down there somewhere. Let's move that. Ooh, down here on a daily basis, 7 days of positive action for Tribe, TRB. It's probably not called Tribe, it's called TRB. Problem is we find ourselves in this type of environment where we're in a resistance zone coming up, top of the ATR envelope. So I can't put it on the purple list, but methodology-wise, it's been lovely. Moving ADX, squeeze momentum came out of the squeeze and busted higher. Lovely. A bit of volume recently. Not something I can really invest in right now. Something similar happened to TRX, as you can see. So if you got in on the pink Barbie, which is the last time I recommended buying it, you should have done fairly well. Let's see if I can once again find my forecast tool. That pink Barbie went up as much as 18%. Not exactly a mystery to us, but what is a mystery is whether or not it can continue to break through the 314. As you can see, it seems pretty apparently interested in doing it. The question is this going to be an arrow, or is it going to be one of these mighty blue arrows where we get a serious breakout? Very hard to know. I remember talking quite extensively about how impressive this particular period was, because at the time, everything was going down, everything, but not Tron. Now we have fallen away, come back up, fallen away, come back up. I just don't know what's going on with this coin. The truth is that we could quite easily break to the upside and just blow up. It's one of those legacy coins, fairly old coin. If I show you on the weekly basis, it's a little bit different to most of the other coins. So that's the weekly basis. You can see that on a 200-week moving average, we did test that 200-week moving average right there. So kind of difficult to know which direction it goes now. You can probably paint a 50-50 from here on a weekly candle, to be completely honest. What that means is there's probably an equal chance of us going down as there is going up. But it's worth keeping an eye on, which is why it's in the orange list, not exactly telling us a story that we want to hear. UNI. You can see why it would arrive on the orange list after having a series of lower highs and lower lows all the way down. That whole pattern changed about a month ago. And since basically the end of July, we're getting some lovely movement, currently up 30% in 34 days. One of only a handful of coins making consistent higher lows versus Bitcoin. This may be the channel. If that is the case, then what we'll find is that this middle point is having an effect here. I imagine that we could run to the top of the ATR envelope and the top of that 200 here. So that to me looks like a compelling trade. So something like this, type stop loss of about 4%, possible take profit around about 10%. That looks quite attractive to me. The only concern, and the reason it's on the orange list, is we could easily fall away here. You know, it could just fall away. We might have had enough. There's a bit of a lack of buying volume here. So instead of being on the purple list, it's essentially on the orange list until it breaks that 200 moving average. But that's quite an interesting trade in it of itself. Other AVA, I imagine that we got a little bit of upside here. One of the concerns that we had here was AVA had to get through that area. And as you can see, in the last couple of days, we have indeed done that. We made a higher high yesterday, and today we're opening even higher. We're opening and pushing higher as we speak. So there is a good possibility that this is going to run to the top of the 200 moving average. So in that case, I'll probably give it a big blue arrow up in this general direction. Now, why is it not on the purple list? Well, it's not on the purple list because it's under the 200-day moving average. And there's some concern that we can't go too much higher here. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Why? Because there's no volume. The volume has disappeared out of the market. And if that's the case, then we've really got no buyers, because the buyers are what's going to push the price higher. So it's on the orange list until it makes some valuable moves. DAG, as you can see, daily bands turning green. Obviously, very interesting. Got to keep our eye on this. Can we break through this area and establish a new higher high? There's a resistance zone through here. Let's zoom in and have a look. Yeah, well, I mean, it looks like yesterday we actually did that. So let's turn that off and get my arrow back. So that is actually technically a higher high. So I like the look of that. There is a chance that we're going to break up to the upside here. question is whether or not we have enough upside momentum to warrant this trade. And I've got to say, from a squeeze momentum point of view, it does look very good. Looks very good. ADX is rising, looks very good. What's the problem there? Well, the problem that's put it on the orange list is there's just no more buying. There's lovely little bits of buying, but now the volume, there's no buying. So I don't think the bulls have what it takes to push it higher. We'll see. DAG, keep an eye on DAG, orange list. MTV, BTC, obviously one of these coins that's been going down forever and ever and ever, but Pink Barbie's perfect buy zone, Blitz, top of the ATR envelope. You can't buy it when it's up here, but you sure as hell can sell it up there and sell it up there. I think we have to wait for this one to come back a little bit. And then potentially, if we get another engulfing bullish bar, which looks like this, maybe on Tuesday, that looks quite interesting. Because I can imagine we just get a move that sort of moves up in that general direction, if possible. So we'll see. Peel, I think Peel did a pump and dump on us. So Pink Barbie, great entry. Blitz, the D30 was the ultimate. Like, I don't know if anybody got into this, but boy, what a crazy ass entry that was. From there to there, 200% in a day. Looking like a pump and dump group. So I'll give it another day or two and it'll probably be off the orange list. XDC. Lovely D30 entry here as well. Hard to know where this goes from here. Seems a little bit awfully hot to me. I'm normally telling people to sell up here in that ATR envelope. Very hot. So I don't know if I can recommend it, but impressive nonetheless. As you can see, been a while coming, even eclipsed this particular breakout zone here, going higher. So anything's really possible with XDC. XLM, been on the list for a long time now. Stellar, we talked about Stellar previously, and I imagine that we might get a movement here, but the methodology is conflicted. The ATR could spell disaster for the momentum, and the ADX, average directional index by Wells Wilder, starting to look a little bit concerning. It's no longer going up, it's actually descending. Descending meaning going down. So that's the orange list. The orange list this week is 24 assets. Let me go and share it. Copy the link. For the 266 million people watching on YouTube, if you want the link to the orange list, and if you want to see how brilliant I am at spelling orange, you can go and check it out as part of our paid community. Orange list, and let me do the purple list as well, which is the exciting one. Purple list. Never seem to have an issue spelling purple. It's just that word orange. Once again, we've got an oranger. Yeah, that's right. You're right, Sarah. As usual, Sarah's our star student. Shouldn't say student. She's a masterclass advocate. So we've talked about the purple list. We've talked about the orange list. We got the blue list. What's the blue list? Glad you asked, YouTube. Blue list is any asset that continues to make higher highs and higher lows with momentum and upside potential with good trade setups versus US dollar tether or your favorite stable coin of choice. You decide. US dollars. Basically, when you're trading versus US dollars, you don't have to worry too much about what Bitcoin does in the background, because if you find the right setups with US dollar traded asset pairs, you're going to get some sort of, I don't know, a semblance of normality in the markets. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. I will share the list before I get into it, because it's a long list and I've been known to spell blue correctly. So blue list in chat now. Of significance is the fact that there's nearly 50 coins on the blue list. And you might think to yourself, gee whiz, it sounds like you've chosen them all. No, not true. There are about 1,600 coins on the list that I now choose to assess with our methodology, the details of which you can get as a member. That methodology, when we apply it to the 1,600 digital assets that are trading versus US dollar tether, of that 1,600 coins, guess what? There's 50 of them that you should even be thinking about. The rest, throw them in the toilet. They're just not worth it. If you're wondering what a US dollar tether paired coin looks like that's increasing in value versus US dollar tether, if you're wondering what that looks like, let me introduce you to the first one on the list, which is ACT, the Akash network. AKT US dollar tether. What we're seeing here is an asset that's traded versus US dollar tether. This one is on KuCoin, higher lows. Having a bit of trouble here, but it's starting to look like we potentially have an ascending triangle of sorts. So I don't know, maybe something like this. Let me sort out my ascending triangle. Starting to look a little bit like that. Obviously, you had a resistance zone through here that we need to be aware of. That's going to be a resistance zone of sorts. We're navigating that. And in the process, we're making higher lows. So let me just stretch that out. So we're making higher lows with a fairly horizontal top to this ascending triangle. There is a chance that we may break to the upside just in time to do one of these big mega blue arrows, which I've just randomly started introducing. That's a possibility. That would probably go and test the all-time high. If you're wondering what the all-time high looks like, it looks like that. Why is it the all-time high? Well, it's because that's the all-time high. So we're probably going to test it with this ascending triangle breakout. Suffice to say that D30 entry was probably the ultimate time to buy this asset, going up 76% versus US dollars in 65 days. I'll tell you which one hasn't gone up 75%. It's Bitcoin. Bitcoin doing well, but not that well. So AKT, possibility of an upside break. We'll see. Anchor versus BNB. This is a BNB pair. I think I'm just going to take Anchor off the list because I'm not even going to talk about BNB today. Let's move on to Ant, A-N-T. Ant has my seal of approval with the old W here, but it hasn't really worked out for us. Having said that, once again, not a surprise to us that cluster with the D30 in there was the perfect entry. If you were trading this versus US dollars, you're up now 122% in the last 3 quarters of a year. And as you can see, the methodology may look somewhat different on every single chart, but by and large, it's remained the same for 7 years. And I can prove to you how we're setting up and finding and isolating the very best coins on the markets by saying, look, there's a series of higher lows, and here's a series of higher highs. So what are we missing? We're missing this, the next higher high. That's why it's starting to set itself up. Probably not the best time to buy because squeeze momentum indicators suggest that we're moving to the downside. But I've got to say, that's an attractive looking coin versus US dollar tether. If I look at it on the weekly basis, for those of you who are into longer term trading, obviously on a weekly basis, you do not want to be buying in this side of the cup. This is a cup, by the way. You want to be buying on this side of the cup where we're consistently making higher lows. Basically, since around about May 2022. So that there is up 178% in the last year and a half. So not such a bad looking asset versus US dollar tether. Let's move on to Ayuri or Ayuro or whatever. I don't know what that is. Pink Barbie cluster was a great entry. Not a surprise, to be honest, blowing up 57% in the last couple of days. Not the best time to buy right now, top of the ATR envelope, but hard to ignore the methodology when it trips a double Pink Barbie into a blitz and smashes that 314. This could be the start. I might have to take out the big arrow here. It could be the start of a miraculous run for this particular asset. As you can see, it has stopped going down for about a year. That's actually about a year. So actually, I take it back. That's about 7 or 8 months. But as you can see, it's not going down with all of the other coins versus US dollars. It's going sideways. And in the last week and a half, as you can see, it's blown up. Methodology makes us aware of that fact. And just in the last 7 days, it's up now 100%. Whether or not it continues to go up is a different story. If you want real-time entries into these, you should join our community. That's what we do. The automated trading system does that. Bull BTC Club. I can only imagine this is some sort of derivative product token, which is related to the idea that Bitcoin goes up in a bullish manner. So I support this little bit of action here. Very fresh to the blue list, and to be honest, probably a bit too early. But I do like the fact that it's no longer making lower lows versus US dollar tether. There's a KuCoin asset which may continue to make higher highs. We'll have to see. Let's have a look at Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash, last 2 or 3 days versus US dollar tether, a little bit bullish. Very, very flimsy trade, this one as well. Kind of want to keep it on the blue list, but I'm not all that excited about it. Methodology conflicting. Bell BNB, yeah, let's just remove that off the list. I do believe BNB's got some value left in it. Bitcoin's on the blue list because it continues to make higher lows and higher highs. I think what we're hunting for here is some liquidations. We're waiting for a bunch of people to go short, in which case they're going to jack the price up in the opposite direction. Let's go and have a look at the liquidation data. I think it will be pretty low, maybe 50 million is my guess. Let's see, 24-hour, what did I come out? 39. Oh, a bit disappointing. Most of them were longs, which makes sense. I think the market is a little bit concerned. Interesting that we see WorldCoin getting damaged over here. But anyway, we're starting to see the market a bit flip-floppy, a bit concerned, wondering what direction we're going. And I've got to say, that kind of looks like a bit of a 50-50 gamble to me. Obviously, we need to keep our eye on this particular resistance level here and also the 200-day moving average. And if you look at those candles and what they represent, that's about a 50% up and a 50% down. So it's not the greatest risk versus reward ratio for derivative traders, which means that we'll probably get sort of a fairly low volume period here. Obviously, the better trade is the breakout to the upside to 37 or the break below the 200 to the 314. So those two particular areas represent much better opportunities to trade entries. So if you can wait about 2 weeks, or if you can wait about maybe 2 weeks, you're going to get a much better entry either side. Right now, very bad market, which is reflected in the liquidations. Usually we see this up around about 200 million. A lot of people staying out of the markets. Comp versus US dollar tether, we're just sort of sliding around here. We did make a higher low a few days ago. What does that look like? Just like that. But methodology going in the wrong direction. It's on the blue list, but at the moment, really struggling with that $75 price point. Psychological level through here. This is $75, that area there, causing all sorts of carnage. We may find that over the next maybe 2 weeks, this ends up happening, some sort of ascending triangle, and we get a break to the upside, which means we'll probably run to 100, but not while the methodology is showing lackluster momentum and trend strength. CSIX, US dollar tether, lovely change in direction for this asset. Spent the entire existence of this coin, Carbon, making lower lows. However, recently, it changed that around sometime in June, now up 100% in 30 days. What does that look like? I'll show you. That's what 100% in 30 days looks like. Consistent series of higher lows, consistent series of higher highs, higher high, day after day. Do we get a higher high from here? There's a good possibility that over the next 3 to 4 days into the next 2 weeks that we get movement in this general direction, up in this general direction. And I think we're going to keep our eye on this, which is why it's on the blue list, because that to me seems fairly obvious to me because the ATR envelope is quite stretchy. We're still coming out of the middle of the ATR, which means we've got good upside potential here. Kudos. So Kudos is forming that ascending triangle that I was talking about. And I think we're getting very close now. The ascending triangle kind of looks a little bit staggered, a little bit squishy, looks a bit like this, something like that. So we may get the break to the upside. I did mention that if we got an engulfing bullish candle through that recent higher high, that we could get into this. That recent higher high is through here. And as you can see right now, it does appear that we might be doing that. The day is not ended, 21 hours left, but should we close up here, there's a really strong possibility that we run up in this general direction. So an interesting trade there for Kudos. Dogecoin, Doge US dollar tether, put it on the orange list for a reason. Too high, but what we're waiting for is basically an engulfing bullish candle here above the 200. So I have to wait on that one as well. Euler. This is an interesting asset. Had an opportunity to break through this resistance area formed last week. Kind of couldn't do it. So I'm sort of waiting to see if today's candle does this. If it does, then we have lots of upside potential to around about $3.60. If you're wondering what that looks like, it's like that. $3.60 is potentially on the cards. $3.60, I think, in the past has been a sort of a resistance area of sorts. This is resistance and support, bit of a mess. That's probably where we're going here. Seems like a decent trade opportunity to set up a long position like this. Stop loss of around about 14%, take profit around about 30%, 2 to 1. The assumption is that this is the channel. That may be the channel. if you want to be more conservative, and I probably suggest that you should be, it would be even better if you could catch that, because then you could have a stop loss of about 5%. If you're wondering how that's structured, you're looking for a test of the lower low, and probably that to me looks like an 8-to-1 trade. So if you can get into this trade and the market moves in this general direction, then you try and catch it at the bottom of the uptrend channel, and that potentially is the big move. That's the big trade there. Blue list, entry, fill, BNB, consistent higher lows. I like the look of this, but it is a BNB trade, so I'm not going to talk about it today. I'm going to remove it from the list. GNO, US dollar tether. This is a bit of a mess, but I got to say, it is paying the bills. And when I say that, what I mean is that we're getting sort of movement where candles will do as much as sort of 30% in a day. So if you're trading this, you want to kind of have your limit sell orders in place, kind of up here, about 130, possibly up here about 128. That's where I'd be selling at 128. And I don't know how you really do a stop loss for this other than imagining that this potentially is the channel. You know, maybe this is the channel. Consistent higher lows during that time period of about 5 months now, just kind of battling its way up like Bitcoin. High, HAI. You can see my black arrow here suggesting that we were about to break to the upside, and yes, we have. So this one's looking quite nice. We've had a consistent series of lower lows through May into June, but now since July began, we're getting consistent higher highs and higher lows, up 50% in 38 days versus US dollar tether. Hacking, doing nicely. Does it have potential upside? Probably not till it clears that 200. That 200 coming through here is a difficult place to navigate. You might get lucky just kind of trading it in and out of this area over the next few weeks. But I would be very surprised if we get a candle that looks like this over the weekend. And I'd be even more surprised if we get a candle look like that. Could happen. If we do, then we're blasting off to the upside. We're going up straight up into this general direction around about 4 cents rather. Have a look at some of these NFT like Hisense. I was correct about this one. It was a pump and dump, but boy, oh boy, what a crazy pump and dump off those pink Barbies. Holy mackerel, 700%? Are you kidding me? Idiot coins. Hisense has been on the list for a couple of different reasons. You can see the pink Barbie clusters with the D30 down here. What an entry. So that was about 200%, but that cluster there, that's 700%. Obviously, some sort of pump and dump group, probably stay out of this one until we start getting another pink Barbie again. This is another one, high ODBS. This one, I don't know why this is on the blue list. You can take it off, actually, to be honest. It's garbage. See you later. High Squiggle. This one you can take off the list as well because that appears to be a lower low. That's lower than these. So this is sending in the wrong direction. Goodbye, High Squiggles. INJ versus BNB. INJ, one of the perennial stars for the last 6 months. Continued higher highs is what I would expect. Versus BNB, however, I do believe BNB is strengthening. So I'm not completely convinced that this higher low is going to hold. If you get an opportunity to trade onto it, then maybe that's a good thing. So for example, if I go long position from here, have a super tight stop loss of about 5%, and I take profit up here at prior highs through this area, that looks like a 4-to-1 trade to me and could be attractive. But my gut instinct is that that's not really going to work out for us. I think that the channel actually looks like this. So this might be the channel, in which case this is probably better served down here and allow the asset to kind of fall away gracefully like this. And then get into that trade where we end up getting it nearly a 6-to-1 trade. That time that we recommended that trade there, and also through here, and I'd say even there. So that's what we're trying to aim for. Try and catch it there. And methodology-wise, cyclic nature. So higher high up here at 0.05, 5 cents is kind of where we're going with this one. But it's going to take a while to get there, I believe. Sorry, that's 0.05 versus BNB. So that's probably why it's confusing. INJ versus US dollar tether. I'm not completely sure that it's got anything left in the tank. I feel like this is too hard. That's too hard. That's $10. Psychologically, markets just reject these sort of levels. So let me just get $10 on my chart. That's $10. We've rejected it in the past. people selling into $10. Will they sell into $10 again if we get up here? Probably. Very difficult to resist selling up at $10, especially considering what sort of percentages it's made versus US dollars. Currently up 342%, but going as high as 444%. 444% versus US dollar tether is ridiculous. It's got to slow down at some point. CAS, also a favorite of ours. Beautiful breakout here to the upside. Now running 56% in 9 days. What does it do from here? I don't know, to be honest. I think it's going to lose a bit of momentum. It's very hard to know. Let's have a look on a 4-hour basis. 4-hour basis, super difficult one to trade this one right now because there's kind of a 50-50 on hand. 50-50 we break down to the 200 to 314. 50-50 we break up here to around about 5 cents. So very hard. Obviously a lot easier to buy those pink Barbies, but you know, that's a hard trade. That's a 50-50 trade if you ask me. Keep our eye on that one. Litecoin versus US dollar tether. That was another similar 50-50. And as you can see, it broke to the downside. Never got that clearing green Madrid average bands. Nothing. So we never got sort of a good entry. We just wait for this. What are we waiting for? Well, basically, we're waiting for some more pink Barbies, and we want some daily candles that look like this. Some bullish candles to the upside, break that 200. I don't know if we're going to get that. I'm going to leave it on the list because I believe in the longer term potential of Litecoin. Lynx, on the other hand, no, sorry, not Lynx, Lusco. We can take Lusco off the list. Last week it was looking good. Looked like it was going up, but not any longer. See you later, Luxo, MBL, US dollar tether. This is a giant candle, and it was well forecast and expected, to be honest. I'll have a look. This is your daily candles. Look at that. Lovely, clean entry, pink Barbies, great blitz. This is looking quite bullish. What about the rest of the methodology? Glad you asked. Let's have a look. Still continuing to go higher on the squeeze momentum. Going up. ADX looks good. Yeah, I think we're going to get some nice upside here. So MBL, movie block, probably clear up into this area. This is obviously a resistance area of sorts. Resistance in the past, quite a bit. Probably expect this is where you should be taking your profits. Maker versus US dollar tether. We were correct about this one as well. Beautiful upside potential. I reckon we need to make a higher low first. So give it a couple of days to settle, and then you want to look for that engulfing candle like that, like that, like that. So you want those engulfing candles. Another day or two. So probably get a bit of a red candle here, then get a doji, and then get a bullish candle, which will be green, obviously. And then we'll get a bullish candle like this. And once we close above that recent higher high, close through this area, that's going to have a lovely little breakout effect. And we're going to get this big blue candle up in that general direction, up to about 1,500, probably even longer. We'll see. MPLX, this one, we take it off the list. Stop loss would have triggered. Not that I was suggesting that we get into this trade because it never did what we needed to do, but you can see what I was aiming for. Stop loss would have triggered on this one. So let's take it off the list. MPLX, bye-bye, pow, metal versus US dollar tether. This one seemed to have made a higher low. So what are you talking about? Well, that's the low. That's the higher low. That's the higher low. That through there was a higher low. Potentially, maybe this is a lower low. Yeah, it's really starting to get a bit complicated, this one. Probably take metal off the list, to be honest. What's the rest of the methodology doing? Well, see, it's bullish. Bullish in nature, bearish in nature, bearish in nature. So let's just take metal off the list, MTL off the list. Ocean BNB, you can see what I'm trying to do here. Red arrow down. Never got it. Never got it. In fact, what we've got instead is potentially bullish upside versus BNB. So obviously that's our channel. If you're trading versus BNB, what you're kind of hoping this happens is this, up in that general direction. That may happen. I don't know. Methodology-wise, we're getting conflicting stories. That doesn't look good. Under the ADX doesn't look good. Volume, however, does look good. So confliction. Ocean versus US dollar tether. This probably continue to make lower lows. In fact, we can take this off the list. If you're wondering why, because we got high, higher low, high, lower high, lower high, lower high. It does look like this week it made a lower high. Pink Barbies be damned, probably going down this general direction. So let's take Ocean off the list. OGV, on the other hand, still hanging on, potential for upside. Let's see if it can continue to hang on. If you're wondering why it's hanging on, it's because that technically is higher than that, is higher than that. So these are higher lows. And what I like is there's still movement to the upside. These are fairly big, aggressive candles. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, like that candle there was a 15%er. And then this candle here was also a 20%er. So there are people trying to decide what this is worth. Hard to know though. Confliction. Downside squeeze momentum, upside ADX. Upside when it comes to the volume, downside when it comes to the price. So a bit of confusion here. PAXG, on the other hand, starting to look a little bit more bullish. I did mention the idea of buying the D30s a week and a half ago, and I said that the last time that happened, we got some good side bullish upside. So we are apparently potentially poised for some upside. Not completely convinced on this yet. Need a bit of ADX to make me excited. Peel did what we expected. We can take that off the list now. STPT, higher lows versus US dollar tether on Binance. Probably wait until this one gets a little bit higher like that. And I'd say that's a lovely little entry. You know, potentially that's our channel. We're just waiting to see what happens here. Tara. Tara settling on that 314. Not completely convinced by this. Pretty strong chance that we break these lows. We'll see. If you get a bullish candle here in the next couple of days, that's probably a potential lovely little entry to the top of the ATR envelope. Tenet even, yeah. This one, take that off the list. Why? Because it's broken the pattern. What's the pattern? Well, higher lows is the pattern. Low, higher low, higher low, higher low. Potentially breaking through. I wouldn't like to be in this, so I'm going to take that off the list. Tomo, we talked about Tomo a million times. You can see my scribbly little drawings there. We never got that. Trias, talked about Trias as well, waiting for that 200 bounce. You can see what we're waiting for. Pink Barbie. Pink Barbie trade. If we get that Pink Barbie, pow, explosive, up to about $5.50. Tron, waiting for that breakout to the upside. Wild, LWD, I call it Wild, but it's not called Wild, it's called WorldCoin. So let's have a look at WorldCoin. So we didn't get what we expected, but we're just waiting. Just wait for it to turn green. It will. There's too much hype. We'll get it in the next 5 to 6 days. WorldCoin definitely has some value to increase. We just have to be patient on it. WXM, we were patient on this for a while, I gotta say. We're still patient, still waiting for the breakout. If we get a candle that looks like this, which, to be honest, is starting to look more and more likely these days, then we'll break out to the upside. Up here, around about $38, if you ask me. Starting to like the look of this. We'll see. XDC US dollar tether, not likely to have encountered a way to anticipate these Pink Barbies. But what a run in the last 7 days, though. I mean, it is up 96%. Obviously not the right time to buy now, but 50% Fibonacci retrace waiting to happen, which puts us back into this area. So if we get a long position here, I think that's a great looking trade. We'll see. Top of the ATR envelope, time to sell. XLMB, don't want to really talk about this because BNB I think is all over the place, but does look apparently nice. XLM versus US dollar tether. So I'm waiting for the clearing higher high. I'm waiting for that. And then I think this has potential to really kick on and go much higher. Stellar is probably undervalued right now. Ripple versus BNB, don't want to talk about BNB, but, you know, okay, wait for a bullish candle there. This one's brand new. It's really difficult to know what to do with this. I just anticipate that that's going to happen versus US dollar tether. Could be completely wrong. Best to trade that on a 4-hour candle. and insist on higher lows and higher highs. 45-minute candle even better. As you can see, cluster of pink Barbies. You want to run it up to the top of the 8-hour envelope. AST, which is called AirSwap. Now, I put this on the list because I kind of feel like for the last couple of weeks, you can make an argument that these are higher lows, with the exception perhaps of a couple of days ago, but certainly it's not going down. And remember that I am watching, something of like 1,800 coins that are all going down. This one seems to be making higher highs and higher lows. So I think we should keep an eye on it, because there is the possibility that we get this big explosive move sometime soon. MBL, US dollar tether, that's the sort of explosive move I'm talking about. I think we can get some positive upside here as well. So up into this prior resistance area through here, up there, that's where you want to be taking your profits, top of the ATR, previous resistance zone. And PAXG, we've talked about PAXG many times. I'm not completely convinced here, but it does look fairly bullish. And as I mentioned, every time we buy pink Barbies, we're getting paid with PAXG. Last time over here, cluster of great entries. Push PAXG. Let's see. That's the BNB and the US dollar tether blue list. BNB, let's go and have a look at BNB before I sort of wrap up things here. Versus Bitcoin, not so good, versus US dollars, not so good. You can see yourself testing this area. Let's go and have a look at BNB versus Bitcoin. The reason I bring it up is because BNB is a base pair at Binance. So there are some coins. But if you have a look at this, you would be forgiven for thinking that this is a total trash coin, that you'll never ever make any money out of it. Because I can make a nice little channel that looks like this, and I make a little channel that looks like this. And of course, for the geniuses amongst you, it's not green, it's red. So that's not a good looking chart. But I've got to say that versus Bitcoin, this particular period of time, if I can even find my date box thing, where would that be? Here we go. That date range there is starting to look something significant. That's 30 days now of effective higher lows. So I don't know if you can see, but that is an extremely unusual little channel in the grand scheme of things versus Bitcoin. There's not very many coins doing that. I'm not sure what it means for BNB, but I do like the fact that in the last 3 days, we have had positive green ADX, and the squeeze momentum indicator seems to suggest that it wants to take a run up in that general direction. So we may see a move from BNB that looks a little like this, move up in that general direction. And if that's the case, we might run to the 200, potentially giving us a test of the top of that that downtrend channel. Now, I might be jumping the gun by a long, long way, but when I look at the weekly candle, I kind of feel like there's justification for what I'm talking about. As you guys know, that is an important location, 200-week institutional moving average. I'd be accumulating BNB over the last 3 to 4 days. The last 3 to 4 weeks if I was an institutional trader. We never got the pink Barbie, which would have given me more hope. But I've got to say, that's starting to look like for the last month that the institutions are accumulating. And that might have something to do with the SEC sort of suggestion that some coins are not tokens when sold on the open market. So I don't know. Kind of feel like that's an interesting location all of itself, because if we have a look here, we can see that in the past, institutions have just said, nah, enough is enough. Let's support it. And let's just support it here. Let's support it. If we get into that price point, we're going to support it. And you can see that seems to be a support level. And now the 200-week moving average. Do people believe in BNB? Is it a security product? Has Binance managed to keep the SEC and the FTC at bay? All these exciting things only to be told next week in our Wednesday session. If you're watching YouTube, welcome to Blockchain Education. Come on, just pay us. We'll tell you what to buy. We're giving out financial advice, right? In Australia, it's not called a financial instrument. So we're allowed to do it, as we've been doing it for 7 years. Hundreds of millions of dollars traded through an automated trading platform. We'd love to have you. Come and talk to Robert. He'll basically personally teach you how to make a fortune. None of this is a guarantee, by the way. In fact, I'll probably get into legal trouble saying this on YouTube. Thanks very much, mate. Well done. But anyway, that should give you an idea of the institutional players in the market, how our methodology interacts with a highly dynamic and liquid market. The volatility is there. The thing you got to keep in mind is that of all of the coins that we discussed, there's about 70 coins, 70 out of about 2,500. All of the people trading the other coins are basically pushing a rock up a hill. Let me show you what that looks like in real life. This is the hill. Look, that's the hill, right? So my suggestion is follow our methodology and enjoy the ride as you're going along. Don't try and push up the hill yourself. That's not going to work out. You're just pushing against the market. When the market is going downhill, when the ball is rolling downhill, just leave it alone. Let it go. Let it go. But when the market is pushing your ball higher, in this case, your trading profits higher, that's just fine. As soon as we roll over, you don't want to be one of the Muppets, and there are a lot of Muppets attempting to just vainly do this. If you want to see what that looks like in real life, in terms of the so-called losers in the market, let me share the red list. It's just not a very nice thing to look at. Let's go and have a look. Daily candles. This is what it looks like when you get a perfect short entry. How do you short the market? I don't know. Robert will teach you. Come and join us. Look, perfect short entry. I can show you plenty of short entries in the last like 2 to 3 weeks where coins just keep on going down. So if you have the opportunity to trade these in derivative markets, you make a fortune. You don't even have to trade coins going up. Guess what? Our methodology works upside down. Look at it. Woo-hoo! You're making money. There are a lot of coins that have capitulated in the last like 6 to 12 weeks. You can see people just completely capitulating out of the market, have no interest whatsoever in trading these coins, of which there are hundreds. I'm just isolating the ones where we get near perfect shorting entries, and you can absolutely make a fortune in derivative markets if you're basically using this. How do you do it? I'm not going to tell you. You have to come along and find out our methodology, you YouTubers of sorts. Anyway, you can see that there are great opportunities for short entries in this market. This red list at the moment stands at 78. For those of you who've been watching the webinar, that list is growing. What does it mean? It means people are capitulating. Retail traders, institutions, they're just exiting a lot of altcoins. Exiting. They're just saying, nah, I'm done. Time to sell. We're out of here. And when that happens in existing bearish conditions, you don't want to be the Muppet just trying to push the price up, push the ball up the hill. No, it's so much easier if you just do it our way. We isolate the coins that have just got upside momentum, that are traveling well, that are making higher lows. It's great. It's great methodology. It works. You just have the discipline to ignore the 2,000 odd coins that are not doing the right thing. And if you're a scalper, this just makes your life so much easier. You just sit back and scalp 1 or 2%. Oh, so easy. Any questions from our viewers? I know the poor old YouTubers can't ask us any questions. That's a shame. Because we're not quite there yet, are we, mate? We're not getting the live stream questions. Do we have 60,000 viewers yet, mate?
Around, I think about 7 million people joined.
Oh, well, that's more than I expected. It's not too bad. What do they know? Look, when 95% of all altcoin traders are doing everything wrong and losing money by consistently trading in assets that continuously go down in value, it's okay because most of the retail traders are getting absolutely wrecked. We just have to hold on to this idea that we can provide an edge to our members by isolating the coins that aren't actually going down. That's always handy. You know, don't trade stuff that's going down. Suffice to say, if you happen to watch this YouTube video, you're extremely lucky, I've got to say, because guess what? You get a bonus. The methodology actually works in traditional markets, in Forex, in precious metals, in all sorts of crazy equities of all sorts, frozen orange juice. It doesn't matter. Methodology works on any time frame, on any asset. It's just magnificent. Probably wondering, like, yeah, you just say that, Jonathan. So prove it. Let me show you. I don't have an Australian financial management license, so keep that in mind. What's a good mainstream stock that everybody loves? I was gonna suggest Microsoft, but I can't spell Microsoft. It's too hard.
Telstra, TLS.
Oh,
Correct.
Telstra. Ah, well, let's stick with Microsoft. I didn't cherry pick this, by the way. You can use our methodology whenever you bloody want to, and I'm going to show you Microsoft. Just for the record, you can even come into our community on a 7-day refund basis and go back in time and watch the webinar where I specifically said, if I was an institutional investor, I'd be buying the hell out of Microsoft. I'm actually on camera for about 3 weeks. Why? Because of this magnificent W formation. Look at this. Let me just show you. This is potentially one of the most attractive W's I've ever seen. Look at that. W formation on the 314, cluster of pink Barbies, D30. Wow. Rocket science, kids. It's not rocket science, I swear. New higher high for Microsoft on a weekly 3-day basis, actually. It works for all assets. Trust me, you do it yourself. You can come in, stay with us for a month, learn everything, listen to me, all the 700 or 900 hours of previous training, and then leave, and you'll probably still have the skill set to outperform 99% of the market, even if you're a Forex trader. While I'm here, I may as well show some Forex just to prove it to you, since we're on YouTube and we've got like 10 million viewers. Let me go and have a look at ONDA Forex charts, and I'll just grab something. Here we go. What is this? The Australian dollar versus Swiss franc. I'm not cherry picking, by the way. As it happens, look at that for a short entry. I forgot to turn my short indicator off, but I got to say, what an amazing short that was on the old Australian dollar versus Swiss franc. You're making your money there, that's for sure. If you're wondering how you do that, set up a short position, boom, there's your stop loss, probably you take profit down here somewhere. That's 6%. 6% in the Forex markets versus the Swiss franc. How do you do this? How do you go wrong? I don't know. I was looking, I think it was the Great British dollar versus Great British dollar versus, I don't know, let's go and have a look. GBD something or other. I think it was euros, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, look at that. Just methodology tells you what to do. Look, so easy. This is bloody Forex, kids. Look at that for entry. Oh my God, you're making so much money. Just use the methodology. So easy. Oh, you're probably thinking, oh, I could never scalp like that, Jonathan. These are daily candles. This is months in the making, kids. You don't even need you to sit back in those markets and just like, yeah, this is absolutely fabulous. Rest of the methodology confirms what's going on. Continued higher lows for the pound versus the Aussie dollar. Is it going to go away? Probably. Running out of trend. How do you know that? Because our methodology tells us. So should we buy it or not? No, the game is over now. This area here is too difficult. ADX basically shows us why. So we're down here. We don't want to be down the bottom. Anyway, that's the webinar this week. If you want some personal advice and assistance and training, we have 24/7 chat platform. It's private. It's not Discord. We don't do Discord or Telegram or any of that silly stuff. We run our own dedicated cluster of servers to control chat, and we've got 1.3 million messages spanning back 6.5 years. They can come back in time and see what we were saying 6.5 years ago. Find out what meme coin jokes were happening back in 2017. We're the only company out there that's got anything like that. So it's just nobody knows about us. It's a shame. It's a shame I just sit here waffling to the same people. That's terrible. Anyway, maybe YouTube's going to finish that. We're going to get viral. I should have probably just talked about Elon Musk. That would have probably helped the viral nature of the video. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. You got anything you want to say there, mate? CEO of the company? Nah. He's too busy answering hundreds of millions of people on YouTube. I'll see everybody on Wednesday. It'll be great. See ya.
Have a great weekend.